If you enjoy what you hear here today, please consider supporting me on my Patreon page. Every dollar helps, and you get to see content that you won't see here. Chapter 36. Equestrian War Plans. Canterlot Castle, 2 days later. It had been 2 days since the assault on Ponyville. 2 days without another attack on equestrian soil, and yet sightings continued to be reported all throughout Equestria, and the aggression on display was clear to every pony. Ponyville would almost certainly not be the last attack from the Empress of the Changelings and her swarm. Every pony knew that something big was coming their way, and it would be coming very soon indeed. As such, the princesses knew that it was time to gather and consider a plan to deal with whatever the Changelings had in mind. They had to put aside singular issues for the time being, with further survivors from the Equestrian Hive being unlikely, combined with their current inability to help Queen Twilight Sparkle, and consider the big picture. They all knew that while the Empress had recently been focusing and hunting down all the independent changelings she could, that objective would soon be replaced by another. They all knew the Empress had set her eyes towards Equestria. They all knew she would strike out soon and without warning, and they all knew something had to be done about it. In that regard, the three alicorns were gathered in the war room alongside all the various high-ranking figures in the Guard, the EUP, and even the Equestrian Navy. The table was practically filled up, and all eyes examined the magically projected map intently as they waited for Princess Celestia to officially begin the meeting. Of course, Broadsword, Vladimir, and Shining Armor were present, though to some of the other ponies' surprise, they had been joined by both Cardus and Facade. Captain Spitfire of the Wonderbolts in particular couldn't help but eye them curiously before glancing back towards the map. Eventually, the three alicorns had stopped discussing between themselves, and Princess Celestia stood to her full height. The others knew this to be a sign to stop their own chatter and give the Princess of the Sun their undivided attention. Once silence dominated, and all eyes were on her, Celestia considered the ponies and changelings before her for a moment, before finally speaking.
"You all know why we're here," Celestia stated. "For some time, changeling hives have been going silent all across the various lands they inhabit, and Queen Twilight Sparkle started an investigation. 10 days ago, Queen Twilight Sparkle and the rest of the changeling queens all vanished. Since then, all independent changelings have been hunted down and forcibly integrated into some kind of universal hive mind that strips them of their free will, and the town of Ponyville was attacked and the mayor killed in the process."
Some muttering emerged from the gathered ponies, but Celestia lifted a hoof to silence them. Once she was sure she had their attention again, she continued on.
"Thanks to the intelligence provided by these changelings here, Cardus and Facade,"
Celestia said while gesturing a wing towards the changelings in question,
"we have confirmed a changeling known as the Empress has enacted a coup against the Queen's Council using a power over the hive mind that has not been displayed in any other changeling, and that this Empress is from an era long past."
"Excuse me, Princess?"
Captain Spitfire spoke up.
"What do you mean, an era long past?"
It was Luna who answered.
"Much like I once was. The Empress was a mere legend to scare naughty children, but she has proved herself to be very much real and a threat to ponies and changelings alike. No, a threat to the whole world. Very few changelings remain, and her sights are on Equestria as we speak," Celestia declared to the gathered ponies. "Their attack on us is coming soon, and we need to discuss defensive options."
In regards to defense, we should start by having a garrison in every settlement throughout Equestria, Captain Broadsword suggested. Reinforcements to Ponyville didn't arrive in time. Had they done so, the mayor might have lived and those changeling refugees would still have their own minds. Celestia sighed.
"Agreed. Normally, I wouldn't want to disrupt the lives of my ponies with a military presence, but desperate times call for desperate measures, as the saying goes."
I can see to the deployments immediately, General Ironhoof stated dutifully.
What of our naval forces?
Admiral Seabreeze asked, scratching her chin.
Seems to me the changelings are a purely land and air-based enemy. We do have some coastal cities like Manhattan,
Princess Cadence pointed out.
We should have ships ready to give support to them should they be attacked. I can have the fleet deployed to strategic positions and on alert day in and out,
the Admiral confirmed.
I'm willing to bet our guns can rip into any swarm in the sky, and we can also transport EUP when necessary. These changelings are innocent,
Celestia pointed out.
Acting not of their own will. I want you to keep casualties among them to as much of a minimum as you can. A high priority on prisoners, if possible. All due respect, Princess,
General Silvermane addressed the Alicorn,
but casualties may be unavoidable. A full invasion will have our hoofs tied. I know,
Celestia said regretfully, suppressing the red-hot rage she had against the Empress for all she had done.
But you must do your best. If we don't at least try to save as many as possible, then we will be willfully committing murder.
We understand, Your Highness, Ironhoof confirmed. We'll give the order for our ponies to injure and incapacitate. Leave killing as a last resort.
All due respect, but in a sustained conflict, how can we keep such a philosophy up?
Spitfire inquired.
I don't want to kill innocents any more than the rest of you, but it isn't practical in the long run.
We may not need the long run, Facade spoke up, addressing all those present. If we can end this conflict quickly, we can prevent mounting casualties on both sides.
And how do you expect we do that?
Silvermane asked incredulously. It's simple, really, Cardus remarked. When a queen dies, the hive mind collapses. Queen Crudelis and her hive, for example.
So we cut the head off the metaphorical snake,
Spitfire stated in understanding.
the Empress.
Indeed,
Celestia stated, sounding almost gleeful at the thought as her eyes once again contained the briefest of orange flickers. This time, however, Luna had noticed it.
It is clear that the Empress needs to die,
Celestia continued.
If we do that, then all the changelings will be freed. Twilight will be freed.
And how do we do that exactly? General Mohawk of the 8th Pegasi Rangers asked. She might take part of the invasion herself, General Ironhoof pointed out. That's what true leaders do.
I don't think she'll agree with you,
Spitfire remarked.
I think she'll hide back in her hive.
We cannot know either way, at least not until it begins,
Princess Luna stated.
For now we focus on reinforcing Equestria's defenses, and then we will create a plan to destroy the Empress.
In regards for reinforcing our defenses, I have a few suggestions for new patrol routes I'd like to discuss with the generals later, Vladimir said. The Crystal Empire has the heart. It would be suicidal for changelings to attack it, Shining Armor noted. The Crystal Heart's pulse could be tuned to act like a solid barrier of pure love energy to them, while passing by ponies and giving them the normal crystal coats.
And it wouldn't necessarily be lethal,
Cadence added in.
At least not inherently. That would highly depend on whether they're outside or in an enclosed space, where they have nowhere to go but a wall. Sounds like the best defense for the Crystal Empire,
Luna agreed.
What do you think, sister?
Celestia nodded.
I also agree. Do what you think best, Cadence. Might I add, Your Highness?
Silvermane spoke up again.
What of the changelings in Canterlot, and in other areas of Equestria?
Most of the changelings around the rest of Equestria have been taken already, Broadsword said regretfully. And we've received reports that some of the changelings in Manhattan and other settlements have gone missing.
Do any remain?
Seabreeze inquired. I believe there are 2 still with the element of generosity, Cardus pointed out. I'm not mistaken, I hope. No, don't worry, your friends are safe, Vladimir assured. But most of the remaining free changelings are in either Canterlot or the Crystal Empire. Mostly Canterlot. Their target's out in the open, Ironhoof pointed out.
Then after what happened to Ponyville, we should take extra measures,
Princess Celestia commanded.
Have all changelings in Canterlot taken into this very castle for shelter and protection. The same should be done in the Crystal Empire.
What of changelings in other places?
Find somewhere relatively safe and defended, and keep them out of the Empress's hooves, Celestia ordered the general. That goes for all of you. Keep them safe.
My people will cooperate. None of us want to be the Empress's slaves, Cardus mentioned. But if any do need convincing, and they're of the Equestrian Hive, come to me. They trust me.
You should also call in your reservists, Celestia stated to Spitfire. We may need every pony before this is over.
Will do, Your Highness,
Spitfire confirmed.
I'll deposit my Wonderbolts where they're needed. Though I have to ask, what about Rainbow Dash? I'd prefer to have all of my main team at my side.
She's better off with the element bearers for now, but she and her friends can assist the garrison in Ponyville.
Spitfire grumbled in irritation, but didn't argue any further.
Then I believe we have at least the foundations of a defense in order,
Luna declared.
But we want all of you to keep working on new methods to protect against this threat. And if you have any ideas, you ought to bring it to one of us immediately. You all have your orders. This meeting is adjourned,
Celestia's announced. All the ponies arose from their seats and gave the princesses a respectful bow, then proceeding to file out of the room one by one. In the end, it was only the princesses, the changelings, the two captains, and Prince Shining Armor who remained. Well, it's a start, Shining Armor said, shaking his head. I just wish we knew when and where the Empress will strike first. We'll find out soon enough, Facade remarked, getting up from his seat. I take it we're not needed right now? Luna shook her head.
You may leave. Take care of yourself.
You needn't even ask, Facade stated, moving to leave the room with Cardus following shortly behind. They'll be fine, Vladimir remarked. I hear Facade is quite a good fighter.
So was Twilight,
Celestia muttered.
Cadence, could you take the others and help oversee the preparations?
Luna asked of the light pink alicorn.
I would like to talk to my sister alone for a moment.
Cadence looked between the two sisters with concern in her eyes, but did as she was asked and led the other three out of the room. The remaining two ponies were left with an uneasy feeling between one another. Luna in particular trying to find the right words to approach the subject of what she had witnessed within her sister.
Sister, you seemed eager to kill the Empress. Shouldn't I be? The sooner the deed is done, the sooner this is all over. I agree, but there is a difference, Luna pointed out. I know it must be done, but it gives me no pleasure. You, on the other hoof, you almost seemed gleeful at the thought. I don't know what you're talking about. You know I despise killing,
Celestia shot back.
The Battle of Ponyville, the Everfree hideout? I regretted every life I had to take on those days. Each occasion reminded me why warfare tastes so bitter. That is true. But this is different, and I know what I saw,
Luna rebuffed.
Your eyes don't usually flicker orange, do they? I believe you're seeing things, dear sister. Perhaps you need some rest? I think it is you who needs a break, Tia. I'll rest when the job is done,
Celestia declared, standing up and walking towards the doorway. She stopped just short and looked back at Luna with an appreciative smile.
I know you're just worried for me, and that I've been difficult as of late, but don't worry so much, please. I'll be fine when Twilight is home.
With those words, Celestia exited the war room and left her sister alone. Luna, however, received very little comfort from her sister's parting words. The Princess of the Night watched the door Celestia had exited through for a few moments, before turning back to the map and slumping in her seat. She looked upon the projection of her kingdom and felt worry for all those who rested within its borders. Dark times were upon them, to be sure, but she could deal with the dark. She was the ruler in the shadows, after all. No. It was the light which she currently feared the most.
Oh, sister,
Luna muttered.
for your sake, and that of Equestria, I hope Twilight Sparkle does come home.